Right, I've always been health conscious. I've always been someone that was really adamant about like exercising and staying in shape, and but I wasn't too really focused on like nutrition. I wanted to have this conversation about aging gracefully, right? And just being able to, as we mature, understand that we have to tweak and, reprioritize things when it comes to our health and our nutrition. What 40 used to sound like to me when I was 20 and what 40 sound like now, right? And I honestly think it's because of like a lot of the advancements that we have, like the internet. I think is a big asset to that, right? Millennials, like we were in that sweet spot to where we know what life was before the internet, and then we know what life is now with the internet and the advancement in technology that we've been able to experience. So I think we've had the best of both worlds, right? So you have baby boomers who didn't know, or they learned or got introduced to the internet at a very later stage in their life, right? And then you have Gen Zs who uh, have no idea what life without the internet is, right? So you have us as millennials who are able to experience both sides, and I think that's become an advantage to us, right? Because we know what we've been taught from our parents, from their generation, and then we've transitioned now into getting information for ourselves and kind of making our own decisions. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the new episode of the Miles High podcast. This is Miles Jr., and as always, the vision and goal of this podcast is to entertain, educate, and elevate you miles high above your fears, your doubts, and any limitations that you may think exist, always knowing that those limitations only exist in your mind. All right? So, the wife and I were having a conversation over these last couple of weeks, and I was just telling her that, man, I feel like I am morphing into my dad. It's crazy to see how, like, the older I get, the more and more I'm getting, or I'm seeing, like, traits of my dad in me, right? In particular, so I went to Houston for something. I think it was late last year or sometime recently, and connected with one of my boys up in Houston, and he had a juicing machine that he asked me, if I liked to juice fruit, and I was like, yeah, cool, man, juice fruit is cool. Didn't really think nothing of it or whatnot, so he juiced some oranges. So I had some fresh orange juice that was really good, by the way. I didn't expect the orange juice to taste that good, but whatever. Came home, told the wife about it, moved on. A couple of weeks later, for some reason, I don't know if she and I were having a conversation just about being a little more healthy. I just was conscious of like being more healthy, and remembered that my boy had juiced some oranges for me. So I hit him up, be like, yo, what's the name of that juicer that you got? Told me. Decided to get the juicer. Got the juicer, and I've been juicing ever since. Juicing fruits ever since.
Sure about
So it was just crazy because literally I've been using the juicer like every day.
Every day.
Like literally every
Twice
day.
a day.
And it's like, man, I remember when my dad used to juice fruits, and I would just be like, bro, I juicing all these fruit, like only old people just juice fruit. And look at me now. I am officially become the juicer, right? So the conversation, having a conversation with Sharice, and I was just like, man, I'm morphing into my dad. And I just started to, realize that, man, as we age, there are just naturally certain things that we should go through, right? That we should mature to. And I realized that as I got older, I started to prioritize my health and my nutrition, right? I've always been health conscious. I've always been someone that was really, really adamant about like exercising and staying in shape, but I wasn't too really focused on like nutrition, right? Because obviously when you're younger, your metabolism is a lot higher. So I didn't have to be as conscious of what I ate, years, 15, 20 years ago. But now I do. And I realized that my problem was my portions, right? I didn't regulate the amount of food that I ate, right? Because it's okay to eat whatever you want, right? But it's the amount of what you eat that a lot of us run into problems with. And I wanted to have this conversation about aging gracefully, right? And just being able to, as we mature, understand that we have to tweak and reprioritize things when it comes to our health and our nutrition. I remember when Sharice and I first started dating. She was an avid
Stop talking my business.
fast food eater. Like Sharice would eat McDonald's and KFC like 4 times a week, like literally 4 times a week, and it's something that was consistent, right? And I never said anything about it. I'm not a big fast food eater. Like I think the most I would do is maybe like Wendy's or Bamboo Shack, which is local to the Bahamas, every once in a while. But I've always been like a little super health conscious, since I was a teenager, and I think it's because, I have body dysmorphia. My wife is telling me about this all the time, but like the way I see myself ain't the way people see themselves. So, like my wife is looking at me and she'll be like, you look nice or you look good or whatever, and I'd be like, I look all right. I feel like I look how I want to look or whatever. But when I go back and look at pictures, I'd be like, well, I really didn't look bad. Yeah, I, was in shape, more shape or better shape than I thought I was at the time. So anyway, that's an issue, a personal issue that I have that I'm acknowledging and accepting. But as she and I dated, and because I have been so health conscious for so long, like I just saw her slowly leaning away from eating a lot of the fast food that she was eating. And I don't even know why. Like, why did you stop eating as much fast food?
Because he was cooking.
Oh, that's what it was. Oh, that's the trick. Oh, so
no, because like when you work on the road, like you are not trying to cook every day, and you just eat the quickest option that you have.
And this is another problem.
And I worked downtown, so it's like so many options. And then when you have colleagues that, we sit around and plan lunch, it was like, okay, what we eat in a day.
And like I'm the type of person like I would cook for the week, right? And I could eat the same thing.
I cannot.
Like every day for lunch and dinner. Like I have no issues with that because it's just meal prep for me. But Sharice can't do that. Like,
nope.
She'll cook and she'll eat maybe 2 or 3 times, like eat that meal 2 or 3 times, and that's about it. But I could literally cook enough food for 7 days and eat that same thing for 7 days. So
you could eat the same thing for 2 weeks.
Okay, fair enough. But and again, I think that's just over time me building up that discipline with what I ate and how I ate. But even still, like I still had issues with like portions. And I wanted to just again talk about how we can age a lot more gracefully, right? Because as we get older, certain things, our bodies start to change, our metabolism starts to change, and we have to be aware of these changes. And I think that in order for us to remain healthy and continue to live healthy lives and to age gracefully, right? Because, what 40 used to sound like to me when I was 20 and what 40 sound like now, right? And I honestly think it's because of like a lot of the advancements that we have, right? Because what 40 looked like when I was 10, isn't what 40 looks like in 2024. And I think that's because of like the internet. I think it's a big asset to that, right? Because it's the amount of information that we're able to read and attain and decipher for ourselves, right? As opposed to being told what to do, what to eat, right? Because that's what happened back in the day, right? We didn't have access to a whole lot of information, so we had to go based off of what quote unquote experts say, right? We had to go based off of what was being advertised to us by these large corporations. We had to go based off of what we saw on TV or heard on the radio or read in the newspaper, as opposed to being able to like figure out this information for ourselves, because all of us are different, right? Our bodies operate differently. What may be good for me may not be good for you, or may not be good for Sharice. So, being able to understand like our individual selves, our bodies, and what we need to eat and how we need to eat to be our best selves, I think has been something that we have been able to take advantage of because of the information era that we're in.
I remember we were looking through your family's photo albums, and your dad had like his 40th birthday, and just looking at the photos compared to like how we celebrate 40, it's like it looked so old, right? Like everyone in suits and dress church clothes at home at a party, and it's like, this is not 40 now. Like, it's but so different.
That was the culture back then too.
Yeah, so we have changed the culture, and we have changed what aging has looked like, because back then aging did not look fun.
Yeah, 40 didn't look 40 didn't like look 60. Fun at all. But I'm 40 now, so I'm super conscious that I'm 40, right? And I'm conscious of everything that I'm doing. But I realized, like, man, I don't feel like 40 looked to me back in the day. Like, I still feel like young. I still feel like I'm active. I still work out consistently. I still eat well. I still, what I would consider look young. And I think most 40-year-olds that I know, like a lot of our friends who are around the same age as us, they look young. Like they don't look like what 40 looked like to us back in the day. Now I do have some friends, not a lot of friends. I have some friends who I went to high school with, who I look at now and I be like, man, you look like what 40 looked like back in the day. But it's all, I just think it's a conscious thing, right? And again, I think for us, for our generation, in particular millennials, right? Because millennials, like we were in that sweet spot to where we know what life was before the internet, and then we know what life is now with the internet and the advancement in technology that we've been able to experience. So I think we've had the best of both worlds, right? So you have baby boomers who didn't know, or they learned or got introduced to the internet at a very later stage in their life, right? And then you have you have Gen Zs who have no idea what life without the internet is, right? So you have us as millennials who are able to experience both sides. And I think that's become an advantage to us, right? Because we know what we've been taught from our parents, from their generation. And then we've transitioned now into getting information for ourselves and kind of making our own decisions, especially with, what we eat and how we eat. And a lot of the studies have shown, and that's what, my friends and I refer to, because there are going to be a lot of studies have shown, right? And studies have shown just refers to like things that we were doing back in the day that they said was good, right? Whether it's, drinking whole milk, or even water now. Like studies have shown water isn't good for you, or oatmeal isn't good for you. Like all of these things that aren't good for you that studies have shown. And like you get to the point where you realize, like, man, you have to make decisions for yourself. I don't think any one thing is bad for you. I think too much of anything is bad. And that's where you have to figure out, man, what works for me? Like what works for my makeup, my body composition, the goals that I may have from a health standpoint, what works for me? So with all of these, technological advances, right? We have the internet where we could now get more information. We have wearable tech, right? So we have these watches, these chains, these body bands that we could wear now, where we can have daily monitoring of our health. You could monitor like all of these things that we could monitor. You could monitor the calories that you're taking into your body.
Steps.
You can monitor your steps. You can monitor your heart rate. Mm-hmm. Like all of these things that we're able to now monitor, where back in the day, we had to go to the doctor office to get this information, right?
And we have like people whose lives have been saved because they've been wearing the tech, and
Yep.
then the tech have told them, well, you're about to have a heart attack.
Yep. And so you have all of these triggers that go off when things are wrong or aren't right, and you're alerted way more quicker and faster than we were alerted back in the day. And I think it's helped us, right? It's helped us from a health standpoint, especially for me, right? I think the most the best thing for me that has happened within the past year has been me being able to count my calories. Now, this is something that my wife is annoyed with, because when I tell you I count everything, I count everything. I've said that before. But let me tell you the story of how I got to this point. So we had a fellas trip last year, and on this fellas trip, we had went out to eat. I think this was like maybe the first night or the first afternoon that we had, and it was about 7 or 8 of us on this trip, and everyone ordered what they wanted to order, right? And we had a friend. So one of the fellas who was on the trip was my guy Andretti Bain, who was on the pod before. Andretti is a personal trainer, right? So he's a real healthy person, a health nut is what I wanted to say. So he was on the trip with us. Everyone was ordered what we wanted, and man, we must have ran through at least 100 wings between all of us, right? Chicken wings, fried chicken wings, and no one really thought anything of it at the time, right? I'm sure Andretti was there. Andretti ate a couple, but didn't really indulge in a lot of the wings that everyone was eating. But the next day, we randomly kind of came up with this conversation about health, right? Health and nutrition and staying fit and all of that. And, all of our, this friendship, this group of friends, like everyone is health conscious. Everyone is, for the most part, like we exercise, we eat pretty good, like not too bad. So we're all a health conscious group. But Dreddy was like, man, but what y'all ate yesterday, like y'all realize the amount of calories y'all ate, right? And like none of us ever really thought about the calories that we were putting into our bodies, the amount of calories that we were putting into our bodies, right? So he took out his phone and kind of went through like all the items that we ate yesterday, right? I mean, the day before, and just itemizing everything that we ate and then totaling the calories up. Like literally in that one meal, I think everyone probably ate like 5,000 to 6,000 calories, easy, like not without even thinking about it. And it was at that point, like all of our minds were blown, right? Because, from a generic standpoint, like we should be taking in what they say about 2,000 to 2,500 calories a day, and here we are eating double that in one meal, right? So, like that. From that conversation, like we challenged each other as a group, and we was like, all right, cool, let's monitor what we eat, let's monitor the calories that we put into our bodies. And from that point on, like that's when I started to be way more conscious of the amount of calories that I was putting into my body. And I've really seen a drastic change in my energy, the way that I'm able to now work out, the way that my body is responding to those workouts. Because half of the battle is what we eat, right? If we could really control the amount of food that we're eating and the types of food that we're eating, I feel like we'll naturally be way more healthy individuals. And again, I think, I said earlier that my issues were the portions that I ate. And counting calories has helped me to, really monitor and normalize my portions. And, it annoys my wife, but I think she understands like it's important for not only me but for both of us to do it. No,
I'm not counting no calories.
she's Cherise eats more than me.
I do.
As crazy as that may sound and as unbelievable as that may be, she literally eats more than me. Quick story.
My metabolism is high. I can do that.
Is it really?
Look at me.
You're right. And it's crazy because she like puts like she and I went to the movies one time, right? And I might have ordered like nachos and a hot dog sandwich, Sharice ordered nachos, popcorn, and burger and fries, right? So I was relaying the order to the lady who was taking the order, and she looked at us and she was like, so whatever she insinuated that the majority of the food was for me, right? And I was like, oh no, that is her order. She ordered those 3 items. So she looked at Sharice and she was just like really, like, whoa, like, where you putting all this food?
Just bring my burger, please.
It was just it's one of those things she and I crack up about, because it's like all these people assume that I would eat the most, because I think I got Sharice probably about by 7 or 80 pounds, but Sharice could throw down. You hear me? Like, she eats.
But it depends, because I'm very balanced. I don't eat like that every day. But like if we're out
anymore.
No, but like if we're out, I'm gonna pig out. But like through the week, I'm very, balanced.
You eat a lot of junk food though.
Well, little cookie ain't gonna hurt nobody.
But she's gotten a lot way more health conscious, and again, I think it's because, at least for me, being able to calculate and monitor the amount of calories that I'm putting into my body has really been beneficial for me. And so the group of friends that we made that challenge with, like, everyone has been doing super well. Like, we've dropped a lot of weight. We've all have a lot more energy now, and our workouts are a lot more better now. And I think me now adding this juicing aspect to my diet, like, I don't even buy, we don't even buy juice anymore. Like, we don't buy orange juice as healthy as they say orange juice is. I'm sure a couple of years from now, studies are going to show that something is up with all of these store-bought juices that we have, right? So now we go to the store. Hopefully studies don't show the fruits that we buy that we juice is going to affect us.
But you can taste the difference, because the orange juice we juice, the oranges we juice that make the orange juice, it does not taste like the bottle orange juice.
It's a big difference.
I don't even know how to explain it. It's like two different taste profiles. It does not taste like orange juice.
And then we get a lot more vegetables into our diet too, right? Because we're juicing greens, we're juicing beets, we're juicing cucumbers, spinach, kale, like celery. All of these, celery. We're able to now, because we eat all of these things, right? We eat all those vegetables as well, but now we're able to, like, have them fresh, right? They're not cooked. They're not sometimes reduced of the nutrients that they have because of the cooking process. But when we juice them, like, we're able to digest them in the most nutritious way that these vegetables present themselves. And I think it's something that we are very conscious of now. It's something that we have discussed that, once we have kids, we want to introduce our kids to this early, and maybe in a less old way, because I don't want to introduce it the way that it was introduced to me when I was young. And Sharice and I just had this conversation recently, and it's the fact that, so I'm 40 now, right? And I know what it is to be 15, 16, 17. And when I have kids and they're 15, 16, 17, I'm going to be 15, 16, 17, maybe 20, 25 years older than I am right now, and they're going to look at me and be like, Daddy, you old. Like, you ain't the 17 that you were ain't the 17 that I am. And that may be partially true, right? Because I'm sure we're going to live in different times. But I think the consciousness that I have of me being 17 is just going to be funny to me, looking at my kids at 17 and watching them try to tell me like I old, or to try to get away with stuff that they think I born yesterday. And it's just something Sharice and I were just kind of cracking up about, because I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to have that experience with our kids. I only could imagine like what my dad went through when I was 15, 16, 17 years old, and thinking that I knew everything, and I didn't need any advice because I felt like, Daddy, you out of touch, like you're too old. But now realizing that, man, my old mom might have been wise enough to encourage me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's this meme that says, my parents used to tell me, wait, you can see, and Now I'm seeing.
Yes, you know that same they used to say like don't grow up don't grow up too fast or take your time growing up. Like you really understand that quote as you get older, and it's going to be funny like when we tell our kids that and they be like y'all too old, y'all don't know what y'all talking about, and you just could I mean what could you do, right? You only could say all right cool we can see.
I think we all forget that our parents were once young. Like we forget that.
You remember your nephew?
Oh yeah.
He could like even now like the age that we are now like we old to him.
Yes.
And it's like bro.
And he tells us you're old.
Like and he is what
10.
10. He just turned 10. So you know imagine us at 10 years old. You know speaking to our elders, people who 30 years older than us, and saying like y'all old. So imagine when he hit 20 and we 50 like. And we could be ancient to him, right? And I just, you know, it's a circle of life. It's just the process we go through in life and dealing with kids and whatnot. But I think, you know, knowing this aging process that we're going through and really being conscious of the most important thing is what we're eating, like what we're putting into our bodies. And then having consistent checkups, right? I've spoken about this on the pod, you know, quite a few times, but I think it's important to reiterate here that we need to have annual physicals. Like we need to figure out and know what's going on in our bodies on a yearly basis, right? Especially for men, right? Because men, I think women, you know, they are more prone to like having their physicals done each year. And men, we just say, oh, you know, I don't feel bad, so I got to be in good health, right? Until something happens, and then, you know, you could have caught it earlier if you have been doing these annual physicals, but you know you have been delaying it or not doing it at all, and then it just creates a larger problem. So I think as we get older, let's continue to be conscious of our health, continue to be conscious of our nutrition, and have these annual physicals. Be conscious of what we're putting into our bodies, right? Because like Sharice and I, like I would consider us to be foodies, right? We like to try I like to try any and every food, and then I would encourage her to try it, and then eventually she'd be like, "Oh, this tastes good. No, thank you for introducing me to this. I don't know if I would have ever done this if you did, if you didn't introduce me to this food." Don't lie, that's true. That's how it is go.
That's exactly how it went.
Nah, but knowing this, right, and you know, we travel a lot, so we're able to experience a lot of different culinary cultures and foods from like these different countries and whatnot. But even going through that, right, there's always a detox phase that we go through. Like we would go on a trip and we would eat, and then when we get back home, like we're strictly on like fruits and vegetables and proteins, and you know, not too much of the starches, just to reset our bodies, right? Reset our palates, reset our diets, because it's good to indulge every now and again, but you know, doing it in control or doing it with control, I think is important. And as we go through life and as we get older, you know, there's this phase where everyone is like having work done, right? They you know, they have Botox now.
Lipo.
They got liposuction. They got the BBLs now. They got BBLs for fellas. They got people getting veneers. Like all of these things that are happening cosmetically that we're doing to our bodies because we're not taking care of our bodies when we should be taking care of them, right? If we are doing what we're supposed to do as we mature and age through life, there won't be any need for us to have liposuction or have to, you know, get these different body work done.
Or accept the fact that aging is
beautiful,
life and
right?
part of life.
And you know, I think again, that's this internet era that we live in, right? Everyone want to look perfect all the time. And even like you see, I ain't gonna call these celebrities names, right? Because I ain't putting no one on blast. But you see celebrities who 20 years ago like looked like you would consider them to be like beautiful individuals and look great. And then now it's like, yo, what have you done to your face? Like, why have you done this to your face? And it's all this ego, right? This sense of, man, I want to regain my youth, or I want to tighten up here because I don't want people to talk about me getting old. And I think we have to accept the fact that like getting old is beautiful, man. A lot of people don't get the opportunity
It's a privilege
to age, right? I think we have to look at it as a privilege of being able to get to, 60, 70, 80 years old, 90 years old.
Yeah, exactly. 40.
40 is, I mean, and that's true, right? Because we have a lot of young individuals who just dropping dead, and dropping dead for really no apparent reason, or it's just health issues that they aren't tackling soon enough, right? And again, I think as we age, it's important for us to get more health conscious. I wouldn't expect of, teenager or a young 20-year-old or mid 20-year-old to be as health conscious as I should be at 40, right? Because at those young ages, we, like Cherie said, our metabolism is high. We're super active. Our joints don't hurt as much when we move and walk around and move around, right? Because we're young and sprightly. But as we get older, even then, if we can still be conscious of what we're doing, it'll help us as we age, right? 20 years from now. So I encourage everyone to, if you want to age gracefully, right? If you don't want to have to get the surgeries or these cosmetic procedures done in order for you to feel good about yourself, be conscious of what you're doing health wise, nutrition wise, right? Be conscious of how you're aging and be intentional about aging the right way. Because I again, it's all about what we're putting into our bodies. We should treat our body as a temple. This is the only body we have, right? And I think as long as we want to live, is how long we should take care of our body, right? If you're living, the house that you live in, the place that you call home, you're not just gonna let it run down, right? You're gonna clean it every day. You're gonna make sure you're maintaining the vessel the place that you're living in. That's the same way you should maintain the vessel that you're moving around in on this earth. So be conscious of your health. Be conscious of your nutrition. I would encourage those of you who don't do physicals or don't speak to nutritionists or don't work out on a daily basis, start these things, start these processes, especially those in my generation, right? If you're an 80s baby, it's time to get active. It's time to be health conscious. It's time to be aware of what and everything we're putting into our bodies, because it is going to affect us the more we age. And I think if we could get a hold of it now, the earlier we can get a hold of it, the better we're going to be, the more healthy we're going to be, and possibly the longer we could live. All right. So that brings us to the milestone I want to leave with you for this particular episode. And it's simply this: the great thing about getting older is that you don't lose all the other years that you've been. And I read this quote and I thought about it and I was like, man, that's amazing, right? The older we get, we don't lose the years that we have been, right? That's just the wisdom now that we have to live a little longer and even impart on the young individuals who are around us, right? So our kids, we could give them the information and knowledge that we have experienced, that we have attained, and even learn some from them, right? Because, as we grow in age, generations change, things change, and a lot of advancement is being made in the world. And I think we can use some of those to better our lives the best we can. All right. So that brings us to the end of this pod. My hope is that we all are able to age as gracefully as possible, to look as good as we look at 60 when we were 25 years old, and to continue to live healthy lives, conscious and healthy lives, right? Let's be as healthy and as conscious of our health as possible so that we can continue to age like young spring chickens. All right. All right. As always, you look like you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, remember to feed your body in both ways, spiritually as well.
Absolutely. I
Our
think
bodies are temples, the Lord.
Okay, Pastor Sharice. And my wife said it, as you feed your physical body, let's feed our spirit. Continue to feed our spirit man as well. All right. So as always, the vision and goal of this podcast is to entertain, educate, and elevate you miles high above your fears, your doubts, And any limitations that you may think exist, always knowing that those limitations only exist in your mind. All right. Until next time, you guys stay blessed.